Hey, fabulous souls, welcome to my unwavering thoughts. Here, we're all about growing, thriving, becoming our best selves inside and out. It is also about leveling up, whether it's how we treat ourselves, others, and just life in general. So, join me on this podcast as I share my thoughts on personal growth, self love, seeing yourself the way God sees you, my rookie tips on life, relationships, and of course, love. Let's grow together. Hey fabulous souls, my name is Oma Ndamati and you're welcome to my unwavering thoughts. This is where we explore the beauty of life, self-discovery and personal growth. I'm your host and today we're going to be diving into a topic that's really close to my heart and it's titled The Power of Solitude. Now, I know solitude often gets a bad rep. When people hear the word, they sometimes think of loneliness, isolation or boredom. But solitude, real solitude is something completely different. It is intentional, it is nourishing, it is completely transformative. So let's talk about how spending time alone can actually help us become more, self-aware, more creative, and grow in ways you might not even have expected. I, for one, during my time of solitude, I love to spend time with God. It's just me and God rattling it out. And for the past few days or a week now, I've been in complete solitude. You see, we live in a world that constantly bombards us with noise, notifications, emails, social media, constant access to other people's thoughts and lives. We're always on, always connected. And while there is definitely beauty in that connection, it is easy to lose ourselves in the hustle, in the constant busyness, everyday hustle and bustle, especially if you're living in a place like Lagos. But when we choose solitude, when we make the decision to step away from the external noise, we are able to reconnect with ourselves. That's where the transformation starts. So let's start with self-awareness, because for me, being self-aware is very important. When was the last time you sat with yourself, just you, your thoughts, and maybe a cup of tea or coffee, or I don't know, let's just say a cup of tea, no phone, no distractions, no one, no one there to distract you, no one else to put some kind of input or trying to say something to you. It sounds simple, right? But it can be incredibly difficult to do that in today's world. We are so used to being in conversation with others that sometimes we forget how to have a conversation with ourselves. But solitude gives us the space to do just that. It's those quiet moments, those pockets of stillness that we start to hear ourselves more clearly. So when I take time to be alone, I notice things about myself that I miss in the noise. Maybe it is how it's how I truly feel about a situation, or what my gut instinct is telling me about a decision I've been putting off, or it's just a lot. It could even be that there's a particular characteristic or trait that you have that you've been pushing aside for so long that you're like, okay, I'm beginning to recognize that I have this particular trait as a person. It's in those moments of solitude that I can really process and reflect on my experiences. It's like holding up a mirror, not the kind that shows your physical reflection, but the one that shows your inner world, the jungle that goes on in your mind. And honestly, sometimes it's uncomfortable. Like that is pretty much uncomfortable, and that discomfort is often a sign of growth. So I, on the other hand, I've been using this opportunity to speak to God, pray, and just genuinely give myself away, because in that time, aside from the fact that I want to hear myself, I also want to hear God and what God says about a particular situation, especially when I feel so emotional about it. So being, more self-aware of what is going on around me, the things that I tend to ignore. Being self-aware in the time of solitude helps me stay grounded, understand myself even much better. So the next thing, we're going to talk about creativity. I've always found out that my most creative ideas come when I'm alone. Aside from the fact that I get my creative ideas when I have especially when I write, I tend to realize that I tend to have my creativity kind of burst out of nowhere, especially when I'm like in extreme emotions. If I'm extremely sad, extremely happy, I tend to, like have a burst of creativity. But when I'm alone, it's like an influx of creativity just fills my mind. There's something magical about giving your mind the space to wander, to roam freely without interruption, when we are not constantly bombarded by the external input, or our minds have the freedom to play with new ideas. It's, like to connect seemingly, like to like maybe connect seemingly unrelated thoughts, to imagine possibilities we hadn't, considered before. So for me, it's during those moments when I'm walking alone or sitting by myself in a quiet room that inspiration strikes. And I know I'm not alone in this. So many writers, artists, and creators throughout history have talked about how solitude has fueled their work. When you're alone, there's no pressure to perform, no one to impress. You're free to create just for the sake of creating. And in that freedom, real magic, like start to happen. I noticed that in this time of solitude, I opened a new page where I post my write-ups. I've wanted to do that for a while. As a matter of fact, I always wanted to be a writer. Not I always wanted to be a writer, but I just loved writing, So I just used the opportunity to like open a page and just write proses and poems and quotes and stories, things that speaks volume about me, like my mind. It might not even have anything to do with me, personally. It might just be something I feel I have the urge to write, and I just write it and I post it. I know it gets certain kinds of like acknowledgement, and it makes me so happy that I'm eager to want to post every other day. So it is not just about creativity in the artistic sense. Solitude can also spark creativity in how we approach life. When we are not constantly absorbing other people's opinions, we are able to come up with our own unique solutions to our problems. We start to trust our own voices more. I've learned to trust my own voice in this period, because I've never really come to like truly trust my own voice, but in this time of solitude, in this short time since after work, I've come to trust my own voice, tell myself certain things about myself that I know that for sure this is who I am, and not external voices telling me what I am when I'm not that person. So think about it. When was the last time you had a moment of clarity, a fresh idea, or a new perspective on a challenge you've been facing? Odds are it has come to you when you had little space to think for yourself, away from the noise and the world. But I need you to drag yourself back from all the stress and think. So because when you have this particular clarity, it helps you, you are more directed at where you're going. Like this just short time of solitude, I have a clear perspective. Like I have a clear direction of where I want to be, but when there is external noise, I just start feeling overwhelmed. I'm not thinking about me, I'm thinking about other things. So now next, and of course, there is personal growth. When we take time to be alone, we give ourselves the opportunity to truly get to know who we are. Solitude allows us to explore our inner landscapes, to figure out what drives us, what scares us, what excites us. It's like checking in with yourself and making sure you're aligned with the person you want to be, basically, and figuring out what needs to change if you're not. Sometimes we need to actually we need to have that space to sit with our thoughts and emotions, to process what's going on in our lives. Maybe there is a lesson we need to learn from a recent experience, or maybe there's something we've been avoiding. Solitude just allows us to face those things head on and without any kind of distraction. So it's in those quiet moments when we are alone with our thoughts that we often experience the most growth, the spiral of growth. It might not always be easy, but it's always worth it. I, for one, like I said in my YouTube video, I just lost my job. And I'm not even proud to say it, but I have to sing it to myself all the time. I even laugh about it because I don't want to sit in like I don't want to have any sort of self-pity towards myself, and it's a way to keep myself grounded that, oh shit, you actually got fired, from your job. And it taught me a lot of lessons. Even if I knew that the situation would have been handled better, it turned out to be that way. But unfortunately, I'm in a space where I have to sit down my emotions. I even was thinking that, oh, I'm not feeling that kind of emotion, I'm not feeling that bad, good riddance, things like that. I deserve better than that. It's their loss, blah blah blah. But I had to really sit down myself in this time of solitude and ask myself certain questions like, really, what went wrong? What did you do different? What did you do wrong that we warrant such thing? Why would someone not want to work with you? Why? And I've always been the person to always tell myself things like, I'm always the problem. I've always thought to myself that, oh, for this person that they don't like me, I'm the problem. Oh my God, why is my life like this? But I've come to realize that I was probably the problem, or I probably was, but I've come to realize my mistakes and I'm trying to work on them. However, it is helping me understand my emotions better. I have cried, I've begged God to, bless me with another job, think about the situation, what to do next. And, I'm getting this confirmation of, just chill, relax. Something is coming, but just use this period to take a deep breath and, reconnect with me. And I know that's God speaking, So here's the thing. Solitude usually, doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean cutting yourself off from the world or from the people you care about. It's not also about, escaping forever. It's about creating intentional moments of stillness, of quiet, of space where you can reconnect with yourself, reconnect with Oma, reconnect with who you are. And I get it. Sometimes solitude can feel uncomfortable, especially if you are used to being constantly surrounded by people, by noise. But the more we practice it, the more we start to see the value. It becomes a gift we give to ourselves every once in a while, or maybe twice a year, three times a year. For me particularly, when she hits the fan, I become quiet. I go to my room and I sulk. And instead of using those times to reflect, I sulk, I feel bad, I cry, why is my life? But I had to take a different turn like 2 years ago, and I was like, you know what? I have to sit down with myself and re-strategize, reevaluate my thinking, evaluate my relationships, evaluate my surroundings. Why? How did this happen? How can I be better? Like I said earlier, even if it's just 10 minutes of solitude sometimes a day can make a world of difference, Whether it is a quiet morning walk, sitting alone with your thoughts in the evening, or, even taking yourself out for a solo cinema date, just you. Just sit down in a cafe with a cup of coffee, just relaxing and just thinking. Have your journal and your pen and just write things down, whatever comes to your mind. Because I think it is that time that there's a flow of ideas, creativity that just bursts in. It is in those moments that we can come back to ourselves. We can have ourselves to ourselves, if that makes any sense. So if you take anything away from this episode, let it be this: that solitude isn't something to fear. It is something to embrace. It's a tool for, self-awareness, creativity, and personal growth. So in the stillness, we hear ourselves more clearly. In the quiet, we create space for the new. And in solitude, we learn who we truly are, and who we can actually become, So this is the end of my podcast. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope you feel inspired to carve out a little solitude in your own life. Until next time, do take care of yourself and remember to find beauty in the quiet moments. This is Oma Ndamati signing out. Bye. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow Unwavering Thoughts podcast on Spotify and Apple, to be a great deal of joy for more reflections on life, growth, and the journey of self-discovery. And also, do well to like, share with anyone. You never know who really needs to hear this. And that is it from me. I'm Oma Ndamati, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.